All right, so we're back here for part 2, and actually it says part 3 here, modeling. So what we're going to do is take a word problem and see if we can come up with an equation, or what we call a model, that represents what's going on. So let's go ahead and take this and read first. So number 9, a company sold 3,305 apps in the first week of availability. Suppose, on average, they expect to sell 25 apps per hour. So they sold 3,305 in the first week, but they expect to sell 25 apps per hour. Part A says write an equation for the number of apps A, so we're going to use the variable A for apps, sold T weeks. So T is like time. So T weeks after the first week of availability. Okay, so, well, we got to think about this. After the first week of availability. All right, so here's the thing. We sold 3,305 apps in the first week. Plus, we sell 25 apps per hour, but that's a different unit of time than weeks. So let's take 25 and convert that to weeks. 25 apps per hour, well, 25 apps for every 1 hour. We know that there's 24 hours in 1 day, and we know that there's 7 days in 1 week. So we're going to convert this. Okay, 25 apps in an hour, 24 hours in a day, so we're going to multiply that. So if I take that, if I do 25 times 24, in 1 day we sell 600 apps. Okay, so 600, that's in 1 day. But there's 7 days in a week, so 7 days per week. So we take that and times it by 7, 4,200. Okay, so we sell 4,200 apps per week. All right, so what are we starting with? In the first week, we sold 3,305, but then each week, we sell 4,200. Okay, now T is the number of weeks. Sold T weeks after the first week of availability. And we're going to call this is equal to A. A is the number of apps, right? If we want to write it as a function, we can say A of T, the number of apps sold for T weeks is 3,305 plus 4,200 times the number of weeks. And this is T weeks after the first week of availability. If sales continue at this rate, how many apps will the company have sold after 10 weeks? Okay, after 10 weeks. Well, this number here is related to the time, which is 10. Now, if we put the number, we got to think here. You're going to be tempted to just substitute 10 for the T. But they tell us, we know that in 1 week we sell 3,305. So if I put a 0 in, that actually represents the end of 1 week. So after 10 weeks is where T is going to be equal to 9. Okay? So after 10 weeks, because this represents after the first week, that would be where this is 0. So for T weeks after the first week, it would be 3,305 plus 4,200 times 9. And now this is a calculator problem. So 41,105. 41,105 apps. Okay, so after the first week, we've sold this much. And so after 10 weeks, that would be, this is the first week, so then it's 9 more. And so we have 41,105 apps. Okay, the company's doing well. Now the last one, how many weeks will it take for the company to sell 100,000 apps? So now they're telling us what the A value is, and we need to find the time that it's going to take to do that. Okay, so I'm going to take this function, this equation. The A value is 100,000, so that's our A. We know after 1 week is 3,305 plus 4,200. We don't know the time yet. We don't know how many weeks that's going to be, but we can solve this equation. So we would subtract 3,305. And I'm going to use the calculator here. So that's 96,695 equals, that's 4,200 times t. And then the last move here is to divide by 4,200. Whoops. So 96695 divided by 4,200. And as a decimal, that's approximately 23. Okay, now remember that T represents, let's see, sold T weeks after the first week of availability. Okay, so after the first week of availability, so it's going to take 23 more weeks after the first week. So I would say, how many weeks will it take to sell 100,000 apps? I would say 24 weeks. T is 23, but that's the number of weeks after the first week, so I add that first week. It's going to take us 24 weeks to sell that. And that is the end of the notes.